Hi everyone, how are you? I'm making a video outside because it's pretty. A lot of the things that I want to talk about are just mostly observations about human reactions that I kind of think are timeless. I want to talk to you about Kony 2012. I think it's really neat how Kony 2012 brought attention to the fact that we can band together and use the internet to help those who don't have access to the internet, help those who are in disadvantaged situations and really terrible situations. Obviously, Kony 2012 is not the first video to bring attention to that, but it's the one that I'm making this video on, so it kind of applies. And yes, a lot of people complained that a lot of other people, because obviously nobody complains about themselves, a lot of people were jumping on the Invisible Children bandwagon and purchasing action kits and everything without really researching their cause. And on the flip side, I thought it was weird how a lot of people were quoting criticisms as though they were more valid than the initial video. And yes, there are valid criticisms of Kony 2012, but the ones that bugged me sort of spread like gossip and were more speculation than researched facts. And I think it kind of speaks to humans' tendency to think that criticism is more valid than suggestions for a solution. We like to criticize, but we don't like actually sticking our heads out there and taking responsibility for trying to do something that might not turn out the way that we wanted to. People were saying that Invisible Children kind of came out of nowhere, which is just an example of one criticism that was sort of unfounded. A lot of you know that I made a video on one of the Invisible Children's events like 3 years ago, and I was an extra, volunteer extra, in a really cheesy Invisible Children music video in like 2006. So I've known about their existence, and I've honestly always known that they were media-based, and that's one of the criticisms that people have been saying, that they were kind of lying in that aspect. Another criticism was that like JP Morgan Chase was funding them, which I thought was really funny because they had won a Facebook contest. I had actually voted for them and helped them win the money from Chase. This was a few years ago. So people were saying and like repeating each other, like rumors can spread pretty far. Another question that I have for society is, why on earth did Kony 2012 get so much attention when all of their videos on promoting peace didn't get as much attention? What is it about us as humans that we focus on this campaign to make this criminal leader famous? And I guess in a way it did get people asking questions and it did get people's attention. But why is it that it got more attention than when they were previously trying to get peace talks to work out, to refute it or to support it? Why is it that we focus more on the idea of using force to stop a leader than we do on using peace talks to come to agreements? I don't really know. And I had so many conflicting thoughts when this whole thing was going down, because participating in the Invisible Children's campaign is one of the things that I have been proud of, because I felt like I was making a difference. I've kind of had more trust in Invisible Children because I kind of saw them when they first started out and I've known about them, so I didn't just jump on a bandwagon. But even that being said, the whole use of Make Kony Famous sort of irked me. I didn't fully like that. And Invisible Children has always sort of tried to shock people. I think that this is more of a stylistic choice. You know how a lot of people sometimes, when they're trying to make a point, they'll make a slogan that is very ambiguous or almost seems to be representing the opposite of what they want to accomplish in order for people to ask questions. And I think that that's something that Invisible Children has done a lot of, which I think can kind of bite you later on down the road, because for one thing, a lot of people don't research more and they don't ask more questions. Another thing is that a lot of people don't get humor, don't get sarcasm, don't get the unspoken between the lines stuff. It could be confusing for a lot of people. A lot of people could support you for the wrong reasons or not support you for the wrong reasons. You have to kind of be careful with that. So I usually like campaigns that are clear, because I think that everyone knows what they're supporting and those who don't support it know why they're not supporting it. Another thing is that the people in Uganda, I think a lot of people, because English is not their first language and because they're so far away, they might have misinterpreted a lot of what Invisible Children was trying to do as well. That, I think, created a lot of upset in Uganda and in African countries as well, because a lot can be lost in translation even within the same country. Camera, stop! It's not a scene in the Hunger Games. You do not need to shake. Hold on. Oh my goodness, what was I saying? Okay, the argument that I've seen in a lot of the comments that does not apply only for Invisible Children, that applies to people's excuses to not help other people in general, is that, well, why help people over here when there's so many people who are suffering all around the world? And that doesn't make any sense to me. It reminds me of the starfish analogy, which I'm sure a lot of you know, where a man is picking up starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. Or a child. I don't know, I think in different stories it's like an old man or a child. And then this bystander kind of laughs at this person who's trying to save the starfish and says, well, why are you doing that? It doesn't matter. Like, look how many starfish there are. There are like thousands on the beach. You can't save them all. And then the man or the child picks up one starfish, throws it back in the ocean and says, well, it made a difference to that one. That is kind of the mentality that I feel like we should have. I mean, you can't make practical changes all over the world all at once. A single person cannot do that, but you can allocate your resources and your efforts to help people in specific places and to choose campaigns or issues that really impact you. The kids in Uganda are not the enemy of the kids in, I don't know, Indonesia or Russia or China or any country where they're being taken advantage of. I mean, which is basically every country on this planet. Noticing people in need in a certain place should expand your ability to feel compassion and to maybe see where that issue is affecting people that you can help. The enemy is child slavery. The enemy is cruelty to other human beings. I probably shouldn't even give examples of specific countries because a lot of negative stuff that people do is the result of individual choices, although some countries are better at stopping it and monitoring that, bringing people who do negative things to justice than other countries are. And one thing that has been debated is, well, what is the best thing to do? And it's so hard to tell because even within our own country, we cannot decide on what the best avenue to take is. I mean, just look at the debates. We have primaries, and then we have the actual elections, because we can't even agree on which candidates to put out there. We don't agree, and that's a thing. Even within these countries, people are not going to agree, and you're going to find people advocating different things, which is why it makes it so difficult to decide what the right thing to do is. And does that mean that we shouldn't try to help people in countries who have less media, who have less resources? No. It just means that it's more of a difficult process. I think that the awareness aspect is great, and it has shown us that we can use the web to bring awareness to other things as well. And now seeing that they're getting the countries involved, yes, I agree, we shouldn't really give them money, because I know that, for example, the Ugandan government has been accused of atrocities themselves. I don't think that we should empower governments that have already been accused of doing negative things themselves, but to hold them responsible and to show them that the world, the eyes of the world are upon them, and that they're responsible not only for what Kony does, but for what their own soldiers have done. I think that that's a positive thing. So to show these countries, show the governments in these countries that people do care, and they care whether Kony is inflicting terror upon people and doing horrendous things, and they care if their own governments are doing that. I remember seeing several months ago or last year, people publishing onto YouTube, publishing onto internet websites, proof of atrocities and crimes that are going on in their countries, where their governments are denying the crimes, but these people have proof, and they have uploaded this proof onto the World Wide Web, and they have shown the world that yes, this is going on, and as a world we have the opportunity to respond. And I think that that's good. The first step is to acknowledge that there's a problem. George Orwell's 1984 book that is sort of depressing, but it's a very cautionary tale. In this oppressive government in this book, the main thing that they try to do is make sure that we don't know that the people don't know that there's a problem. Because when you don't know that there's a problem, when you don't know that there's something wrong, you can't fix it. I think the internet has such a power to hold governments accountable. Bringing awareness to situations is really important. If you look on Yahoo, a lot of the featured articles you find are basically gossip about people's shoes and who has an ugly dress. It's so weird what things we feature in our society. I'm all for the awareness aspect and kind of letting the people who I hope I can trust in power, people who have the tools to help and the intelligence to help, to kind of figure out what the best plan of action is. They're saying that the African Union is getting involved. Politicians are actually focusing on this situation and trying to help it come to resolution. And the idea is to capture Kony and bring him to justice. And that's another thing. A lot of the victims want justice too, and they want the kids who have already been kidnapped to have the chance to make positive choices. And yes, a lot of these kids are in incredibly dark places. I mean, I heard that Kony has like made kids kill their own parents and eat them, or like horrible things like that, that it can't even imagine the effect that would have on a child. So yes, a lot of these kids are in such dark places they might never come out. They might continue making negative choices. But the thing is, right now they don't have the opportunity to see hope. They're in a place of such darkness that they don't have the choice to choose positive, like, life directions. In the middle of the jungle, they don't have access to the internet. They don't have access. If Kony kidnaps them and says that the world is over and the world's against them and they need to go out and kill people, they have nothing to contradict that. We're so lucky to have the internet that enables us to connect with others, to say that the world is bigger than just where we are at the moment. And these kids don't have that. When they are kidnapped, they're in a living nightmare. Their hope, everything is crushed. They live in a world of destruction and death. And they don't have like happy Disney movies to cheer them up. While a lot of them, yes, might continue on destructive paths, we have to help these kids have the choice to make positive decisions and to bring their lives back together and try to cope and grieve and kind of become themselves again. I think it's a horrible injustice that these kids have basically been robbed of their childhoods and they're being held captive either by hatred because they can't see any way out, or like physically held captive because they are in fear for their lives. And not doing anything, that isn't the solution either. This is something that has already gotten attention. I think that we can do positive things. I think that the fact that so many people are being impacted by this is a wonderful thing. And I know that a lot of people are like, so-and-so seems like a selfish person, or like it's a hipster thing to do. Why are these people caring just because of a video? And you know what? I work with autistic kids, and when someone does something positive, when a child does something positive, you reinforce that. You don't discount the good thing that someone does because maybe they're selfish other times, or maybe they don't do what they're supposed to do all the time. Everyone who's done something positive for this movement, or for whatever movement is close to your heart, I say great. That's a good thing. We can work towards making it a habit, doing positive things a habit. We can make caring for others a habit, but that comes with practice. Don't put people down when they do something positive because they've done something negative. Reinforce the positive and help that become the habit. Yeah. My concluding thought is, let's use the internet and let's use our attention and our awareness and our skills in the best way that we can to help others, either close by or far away, whatever your calling is. And let's make our one world first world, or our one world first world. Yes. That would be a good thing to tweet, actually, but I don't really use Twitter. So yeah, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And for those of you who are religious or not religious, please keep my grandma in your thoughts and prayers because she has congestive heart failure, and we had a really big scare. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I wish you all the best. Okay, bye. Peace. Another disclaimer is, if you do decide to participate on April 20th, please distribute flyers or posters or whatever in places that you're allowed to do so. Don't graffiti, don't destroy any property or anything like that, because that's not the aim of the event, and that should be very clear. The point is to create a positive change in the world and not to be the perpetrators of any negative change.